can't paint. Paint's almost frozen, you know. They have to heat up the house, so you got all those expenses. So you have to look at, they were adding square footage, I was adding square footage, and that's what brought the prices up, but you really didn't need to do that either. You could have just rehabbed the 3-1, maybe added a bathroom, which isn't much, 5-10 grand to add a bathroom, and then the value was still going way up there, and then you were making maybe $500,000 on the sale, but you had $250 in it. So it's how you structure the deal, right? All right, so you guys get that? So there, that was the one there, I said. So I want to tell you about a website that I use for value, because the number one thing is I hear a lot, well, maybe not the number one thing, but everybody calls me up and says, is this a deal? Is this a good deal? Because I do mentoring and coaching. And they say, Cliff, I got this house. I'm like, okay, tell me about it. And they give me the address and they say, is it a good deal? And I says, well, there's a lot of factors involved in what is a good deal, but what's the most important thing? We already talked about it. The purchase price. Okay? And the purchase price compared to what? The after repaired value. So I'm sitting there, and this is a company called CoreLogic, and it's RealQuest Express. The actual website, I'm going to give it to you right now. This is cool. It's called express.realquest.com. Make sure you go express, period, dot, realquest.com. And what's going to happen is you're going to get to this page right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to type in the address right here, and then you hit free search. It's a free search. Now let me tell you who CoreLogic is. CoreLogic is the Transamerica building in downtown San Francisco, the big pyramid building. They're a logistics company. They owned a company called MetroScan, which is when I got involved with them in the 90s. And what MetroScan did was they went to all the public recording areas, the recorder's office for the government in each county, and digitized them into the current status, what we have now, which is online. Everything is online. Guys, I went where they'd say, okay, what are you looking for? I says, book 1743, page 64, and they come out with a book. And they put the book on the middle of the table, right? So, or microfiche. Anybody know what microfiche is? Yeah, all the old guys raise their hand. Yeah, those stupid little cassettes, and then we didn't even know what we were doing. And then you look at the stuff, and you're like, okay, now what? So in the day, you would hire an appraiser, and it was not as expensive as it is now, but it was still expensive. So MetroScan came out, and they made that data available to me. I could now go on the computer. And it was on a CD, and it was only two weeks old, the data, so it was fresh. It was like right off the press. It was 2 weeks old in our world of instant gratification now. So I would get that data, and it would tell me what the value of the house was. It would do an appraisal. So I stuck with them for this whole amount of time, and MetroScan's no longer available, but CoreLogic has this site right here. Now, if you go up here, and you want to click on one of these things and pay for their service, don't do that. They give it to you for free, but they don't give it to you in great detail. Anybody ever read a comic book? Okay. When you first got the comic book, did you skim through all the pages to see what was going on? To see if you were even going to be interested in reading it? How about a book, a novel? Anybody ever get a book or a novel and read the last page first? Well, that's me, I don't want to go through but when I was looking up houses and looking at the transactional history, I tried to play detective and figure out, oh, look, there's where they bought it as a married couple. Oh, look, there was a divorce because there's the wife now the wife owns the house. Oh, look, there's the boyfriend. Now the boyfriend's on the property. And you want, oh, look, they're going into foreclosure. Right? And I try to figure out the story. And then one day I realized it doesn't matter. It has no variance. Numbers and math is the only thing that matters. Okay? So I went and I found this and through the years, and I used to pay for it. It was like $180 a month. And I would get all this data just like an appraiser. But I didn't need that. What did I need? One thing. What was the value of that property all fixed up? Okay, so I'm going to show you how this works. So you put your address in here, you hit free search, and this is my very first house. It was on 27th Avenue North in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's right. That was my first marital home. And it tells you here it's 1,000 square foot, 2 bathrooms, built in 1955, and it had a lot size of 7,800 square feet, which this in San Francisco would be what? 2 million? 2.5? Right? Well, in Florida, it's $145,000. And this is a little old. I pulled this up a little while ago. But it's $145,000. Their estimated value. So let me tell you what that is. It's a 30,000 foot view of the value of that property. So if you're looking at the map, see the map here? That's like you're looking at, and it's comparing all of these houses, because it takes the value of every single property in that area, throws it into the algorithm, and spits out a number. That number I found is consistent. Yes, sir.
How close is that to comparing that price to Zillow, Realtor?
Yeah, I'm going to get there.
They're all going to vary a little.
They're all going to vary a little. This is appraiser quality data. That's the big difference here. Now, it gets even better when you pay for it because they get more narrow on the valuation. But at this point, all we have now is an address of a house that we might buy. Is it a deal? I don't know. Let's find out. So if the realtor says, hey, I got this smoking hot deal in St. Pete, you buy it for $130,000, you put $25,000 into it, and we can sell it for $180,000 all day long. Right? Has a realtor ever said that to you?
I always ask, is that before or after your commission?
Well, and I'm trust me, I'm not bashing real estate agents, but how many real estate agents? What's that? You will?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Most wholesalers and real estate agents give you the wrong value.
Yes, absolutely, and I'll just rest it with that. Did I tell you my ex-wife was a real estate agent? little sour there. Jake's laughing. So, and this was our marital house. No. So, we'll have to edit that part out. So, anyways, I'm just being funny, but it is true. So, I used to look at the characteristics and the location and the sales history and the comparables, and if it was a foreclosure or not. I wanted to know all that information, but the only thing that matters is that right there. Okay? So what I would do is I would pull Zillow, I'd pull this up, and I'd have a CMA. So, maybe the CMA was run, and then I would evaluate that data. And let me just show you what I would do here. So this is their AVM, which is an automated valuation. And that is their 30,000 foot view. If you go home and look at some appraisals that you've had done and look at the source of data, you're going to see RealQuest on a lot of them. So we're using the same data, okay? But I'm telling you what I'm telling and explaining to you right now takes me 30 seconds to come up with the number. 30 seconds. And that's if my service on the internet is slow, okay? Because all you do is you plug your address in there, you hit the button, and then right here it says 145.6. I don't know why it's so blurry. Oh, it's my eyes. And then you click right here, and it takes you to the next page, which is this. And I've already zoomed it in. I've zoomed it all the way in, and this is the house right here, right? So what I do at this point in time is I look at the 30,000 foot view of all the houses around it. Now, you can look at the map on Google, and you can actually look at it on here, on the satellite view, and you can see that the houses are basically all the same. Okay? It's tract houses. Yes, sir.
I'm seeing that a lot. Sorry about my voice. I'm seeing that a lot on Zillow. Like you'll see a row of houses 150, 145, and all of a sudden you see 262.
I don't know. Now, I can tell you that this house right here is about 3,000 square foot. See, but you can't put a 3,000 square foot house in a 1,000 square foot neighborhood. It doesn't work. Does anybody understand that? You're over building the neighborhood. So the appraiser comes in and says, this house here is 1,000 square foot like the rest of them. I'll give you $100 per square foot. But this one over here, because it's 3,000, we're only going to give you $45 a square foot because you overbuilt it. And don't worry about that. Just understand, don't buy the biggest house and don't buy the smallest house in the neighborhood. You want to buy the median size, right? So these are all about 1,000 square foot except for that one. And that was my brother-in-law's house. That's how he was a contractor. He was going to live there forever. And they got divorced too. Right? Because almost everybody get divorced now. So I look at this and I take all of these numbers and I average them. I add them all up and I average them. So there was 14 of them that I counted, and it came out to that, and I averaged them at 174.2. What did they say before? What was the no, the other number was 145.5 or something like that. So what I do is I take that, there's the 145, right? That was their estimated value. And I come up and I make it 160. So I took a little bit off of there, I added a little bit there, and I says, I can sell this for 159.9. Okay? That's what the appraiser does. He does it a little more depth. He'll go and look at the house. I don't need to look at it, it's the same as the rest of them, right? At this point, we don't know, do we? What do we know? All we have is an address. Realtor called me up, we're here in Santa Barbara. She's over there in Florida. She says, here's a great deal. Remember, you buy it for 130-something thousand, you put 20 in it, and you sell it for 180 all day long. And then I find out that it's not true what she said. But I can still make money on it somehow. Maybe. We don't know. But we do know that I will guarantee you if I listed it for 159,600 after rehab, I would get that valuation. Because I'm using the appraiser's data to do that with. And you guys get that? Mm-hmm. That takes me 30 seconds.
So it's a more accurate website to
Well, it's consistent.
you.
Okay? So the more you do in an area, you might find that they're 10% off. But they'll be consistently 10% off. And they don't follow the immediate trends. It's more like this versus like this. But real estate is like this. The appraiser's going to say, well, yeah, that house sold for $600,000 3 months ago, but now it's selling for $200,000, so that doesn't matter anymore. Because all of these other houses sold for $200,000, so that $300,000 just went right out the window. Get that? A lot of people don't understand that. Or just because there's a house that sold for $500,000 14 miles down the road 6 years ago on the CMA. See, you know what a CMA is? A comparative market analysis. Remember the realtor that said it was worth all this money? She gave me a CMA. See, CMA right there. They can go into the computer, the multiple listing service, and they can pull up comparables. Do you know what a comparable is? Everybody knows? All right, so the comparables are active, pending, and sold. Okay? Active means they're on the market for sale. Pending means they're under contract. Sold means they've closed. They've actually transacted the deal. So the only thing that's important to us is what? Closed transactions. Pending will tell you if there's 100 houses for sale and there's one pending, not a very good area, right? As far as sales. For when you go to sell it, it might mean longer time of marketing time, holding time. If there's 100 houses and 98 of them are pending, and you just got a good deal, buy that, right? Because you're going to be able to sell that probably before you close on it, right? So what happens is the CMA can be manipulated. They can say, oh, look, let's take all of these out and only leave these high dollar ones in here because they have the ability to do that. And I'm not saying that it's a conspiracy that they're doing this against us, but it's a conspiracy that they're doing this against us.
It's common.
It's very common. And they don't realize that they're doing a disservice. A lot of them just say, oh, well, look, we're justifying the high value. Look, we can do this. The appraiser doesn't do that. He says, oh, well, you threw out all these pieces of crap over here that justify the value of the property. Do you know what a value is, what market value really is? what somebody's willing to pay and what somebody's willing to sell. So if I buy a house here in Santa Barbara and they're asking $2 million for it, and we settle on $2 million, but the appraisal comes back at $1 million, if I'm financing it, I've got a problem. If I'm paying cash, what's the house worth? $2 million. And therefore, the only reason why it would have a problem is if I didn't have the money and I was using her money to buy the property. She's going to be like, oh, wait a minute, we're going to do an appraisal. And I'll give you the money based on the $1 million valuation, but not the two. Do you guys get that?
Yeah.
Anybody not understand that? Anybody not going to acknowledge me no matter what I say? All right, how are we on time? What?
That's a 4.
Oh, wow, good. Okay, so there's 3 ways of getting an accurate valuation. Number 1, you can do it the way that I did, which gives us an instant valuation. We can validate that with Zillow. Let me tell you how to use Zillow. I don't have a slide up here, but let me tell you how to use Zillow, because Zillow is wrong. Every single valuation that you look at is wrong. So here's what you do. And I'm going to do this from memory. I've done it a few times. When you open up Zillow, it has a thing across the top there where you can make selections, right? And one of them is, I think it says more, and you pop down the more, and in there it allows you to select whether they're sold, pending, or active, right? So you take off all the check marks and only leave the sold properties, and then you want to do that within 90 days, okay? So you want only sold showing on Zillow, only sold, and you want 90 days. If you don't get anything in 90 days, you got to go back a little bit further. It just means that nothing has sold in the area within the 90 days. And the closer to now, and the closer in proximity, the better. Does that make sense? If it's on the other side of the highway, understand that's probably a different neighborhood over there, right? Because that happens here in Santa Barbara. You can be on this side and you're in a $100,000 house. You'd be on that side and you're in a $1 million house. In Chicago, you just walk across the street. And you buy crack here, and then you go back to your mansion. For real. I'm sure that happens in all the big cities. It's not just Chicago. And Chicago's going to now sue me, right? So what happens is, when you go on Zillow and you do that, you're looking at the map and you're looking at actual comparables because they sold within a specific time frame, within a specific area. You know, you want to focus on the map as much as possible, and you want to try to get the size of the house, the square footage, to be similar. That's all you need. And if Zillow says 159.5 and RealQuest says the same thing, I stop there and just consider it's a 159.9, right? If Zillow says it's 238,000 and RealQuest is saying it's 159.9, I'm going to look at the comps a little harder. I might spend 5 minutes now investigating the comps and pulling up actual comps. Or I'm going to look at the realtor's comps and see if they reflect what I'm seeing online, because I'll have the realtor send me over a CMA. They'll do it for free, right? And if you see all these comps in there that's not on what you're seeing, this is how it's called deductive reasoning. If they're telling you that the sky is purple and you keep looking out there and it's blue, eventually you're going to figure out she's lying. Right? Or he's lying. You can call appraisers. Call them up on the phone. Just break out the internet phone book now. I used to say Yellow Pages. And start calling appraisers and say, hey, my name's Cliff. I don't live in the area there in Chicago. I'm from California. And my realtor called me up and she said that there's this really smoking hot deal on this property. And I don't need to know what the exact value is, but am I in the right ballpark? And you know what? 5 out of 10 times they'll tell you. So it's worth it to make a few phone calls. And if they don't give you the answer, call the next one. And somebody will say, yeah, well, you know, I know that area pretty well, and without doing an appraisal, I can't really tell you what the value is, but look, dude, am I even close? No, you're way off. Those houses are selling for $300,000. I'm like, oh, okay, so if I'm buying it, and I'm thinking it's 159, and he says it's 300, and then I go back to Zillow, and Zillow was like 2 something, 290 or whatever. Now I'm going to look at that and try to figure out what happened with RealQuest, but I will guarantee you 95% of the time, RealQuest is right. Okay? Because, like I said, it's appraiser quality data. And last, worst case scenario, if you're really ready to make a purchase today and you want to do this, but you're still a little feeling weird about the numbers, this can be part of your due diligence. Call the appraiser back up and say, look, I need a full-blown appraisal. You can do a bench appraisal, you know what that is? Where they don't actually physically go out and look at the house, because it really doesn't matter, because we're going to fix it up anyways. Because we're not looking for the right now value, we're looking for the value when we sell it. Okay? Because that's what we base all our numbers off of. And then what we do, we throw it in my spreadsheet. See, I've got one too. And what I do is I come over here, and is that blurry or is it just me? I don't know why it's blurry. Oh, see, I can see it now. Y'all need glasses. It's $249.9. I don't know why I had that number there. But let's say I looked it up online, and the house that we're looking at, different than the one we were talking about earlier, comes up and it's worth $249.9. I plug that in here, and then all of this stuff auto-populates, okay? Because it's all got the formulas built into it. So I'll run through here what the repairs are going to be, and what the costs are going to be, and you can even plug in your hard money. Is that making it better? Right there. That's good. Can you guys see that?
Yeah,
I don't know how to make it bigger though. Anyways, I'm going to give you the spreadsheet in a little bit. Is that okay? I'll give you a chance to download it. All right, so this was in my head. So I put this on a spreadsheet. I had a guy that knew how to do spreadsheets a long time ago, and he helped me put this on here. So I used to do these calculations in my head. They're really simple, easy calculations. But you take your market value, that's the value that we determine that the house is worth, and we plug it in there, and it spits out all of these numbers here. So I've done enough rehabs. I've done almost 1,500. Is that a lot? I think it's a lot. I would never do it again. But the cool thing is do I think I know, or would you agree with me that I think I know what a house is going to be in repairs just looking at it? Pretty close. Pretty close. Yes, sir.
Do you ever take into consideration market cycles and whether the market's going to be heading down soon? Is that much of an issue for you?
Well, you could see that in the sales when you're doing the CMA, whether you're doing it yourself. So you can see trends in the market, whether they're going up or whether they're going down. I just didn't want to overload everybody with, yeah. But when you pull up the data, you can see, I look at about a year's worth of closings, and you're going to see if the closings a year ago were here and now we're up here, you can tell that they're trending in an upward motion, and vice versa. But usually, in most of the places where I'm at, they're all pretty much staying the same, and we're getting that 1 to 4% appreciation per year. Which, you know, if you're dealing with an area that's getting drastic appreciation or drastic depreciation, I kind of tend to bet on the now. So if it's worth $249.9 now, I know my rehab is going to take probably 2 or 3 months, and it should be worth the same in that amount of time. And, you know, when you're looking at the actives and the pendings and the solds, you're going to know what your DOM is, or your days on market. I just didn't want to go into too much, you know, and overload everybody's brain. But yes, you can tell how long the market is going to take you to sell it. All of this is based on 4 months of holding time. So all this data right here is going to be based on 4 months. So I've determined that on a $49,000 house, sorry guys, my repairs are 12%. And let me explain what my repairs are. I still haven't seen the house yet, right? All I had was an address. So these are assumptions based on my experience, okay? So I'm going to assume that it needs 12% in repairs, or $25,588 in repairs. And where does that come from? Lipstick on a pig, okay? Carpet, paint, I R&R the kitchens and the bathrooms. In other words, I remove and replace. Okay? So I take the old cabinets out, I put new cabinets in, new countertops go in, new sink, new appliances, and I don't put the high-end appliances. I do median. You know what I mean? I do the middle of the road. But when you do all of the middle of the road into a house, it looks really nice and people want to live in it. Okay? You don't have to go to the design center like they do on the TV shows and buy the imported marble or the imported woods and all of that stuff. You don't need to do that unless you're selling a $4 or $5 million house in San Francisco. Then there's things that you are expected to do. But if that's a percentage of $2 million, you're going to have $250,000 to do the rehab, right? Because it's going to go up and down with the price. So this is a 250. If you had a $2 million, don't you just add a zero on the back there? Right? So you're going to have the money to do the repairs, commensurate to the value of the property. Now, I came up with 12% because I went back in my history and I looked at it and I averaged about 10 to 12% per house for repairs that I would do. Carpet, paint, just lipstick on the pig. Yes?
Is that your own crew or hiring contractors?
In the beginning, it's my own crew, but now if I do something in Chicago right now, it's hiring contractors. But I hire them according to what I need. And if you can't do the work for that, I hire somebody else. Yes?
Do you ever use Lowe's or Home Depot's service installations?
Absolutely. I use mostly Home Depot's the Pro Desk.
So you have them actually do the contract, go out and do the job.
Labor, he means labor.
Labor.
I had them do windows and doors one time, but usually I can beat their prices.
Right. Seems like they might be 25% more or something.
Well, they're competitive, but if I go to a contractor and say, look, I want to do this, and I want to do 5, 10 houses a year, I need you to be in this price range. And if they can do it, great, and I'll give them all the work. And if there's things that come up along the line, because that's just the starting point. I've got cushion in there. Now, once I determine that the repairs are $25,000 and a half, what am I going to do? Because we just looked at this house online, still haven't seen it. What do I got to do? I have to have somebody look at it, right? So this is a meetup group, right? So I call the meetup group organizer in Chicago, and I says, hey, my name's Cliff. I just got this house under contract. Who would you recommend? Because I can't come to the meeting because I'm in California, and I want to honor your meetup group and your people, and keep you going and blah 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 blah. Right? Who would you suggest to go out there and do a third-party inspection? Do you know anybody that could do that for me? Of course. Right? So now that guy goes out there, he's a contractor, and I talk to him on the phone. I says, look, I want to do the repairs. I don't pay top dollar, and I don't beat you up either. I want to pay a competitive, fair price. I'm an investor, and I'm planning on buying 5 to 10 of these a year. You give me a good price today, you'll get all of the jobs. Okay? Or if you screw me now, you'll never screw me again. Okay? And that's a fact. Right? So you're either going to do it or you're not. And if they say, I'm not going to do that, great, hang up the phone. In fact, Jake's seen me do this. Well, if you can't do it, do you know anybody else that's like one of your competitors that you bid against all the time, that you could give me their information so I can call them and have them do it?
And the killer thing about that is that a lot of them do. And then you really were talking to the wrong guy.
They'll say, oh yeah, you should call Mick's Construction Company. He's my biggest competitor.
Yeah.
And he underbids me every time. They literally do that. And I'm like, oh my God. So, psychology, man. Psychology. It works every time. If he goes out there and he says, well, it needs a roof. And I says, well, what do you mean? He says, I'm looking at the sky. And I'm in the basement. Right? Okay. That's not included in this. All right? This is lipstick on the pig. So when they go out and they do the inspection, they say, I'm going to call them and I'm saying, I got $25,000 to do the repairs on this to make it sale ready. Go out there and look at it and tell me if you can get it done. Right? You either can or you can't, right? And if you can, you're going to say, Cliff, I can do it for that and I can get it done. In how much time? Okay, in 2 months? Great. I'm going to probably buy the property. When I get it under contract, we'll go ahead and sign an agreement that we're going to do that together. And then she goes out and she does the job. Right? Is that cool? And I never swing a hammer. I got soft hands like an accountant. It's kind of creepy. Because I used to have the rough hands and stuff. And I'd always shake hands with the bankers and stuff and go, ooh, this like, yeah, now I got those hands. And I like it. Because, drinks don't slip out of your hands now. So that 12%, he goes out, or she goes out there and she says, Cliff, it needs this, that, and the other thing, which aren't in your scope of work. Because I give her a scope of work. I want the carpet, the paint, I want the baseboard, I want the trim, I want to remove and replace all the cabinets, I want to put in granite countertops, I want to put in mid-grade stainless steel appliances.